All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today, me and Nick here, we're doing our 2022 preview and prediction for the Louisville Cardinals. Looking at the coaching staff, Scott Satterfield back for his fourth season, 18-19 record so far, 51-24 at App State in the 5 years prior. Lance Taylor is going to be offensive play caller here. Spent the last 3 years as the running back coach and the run game coordinator at Notre Dame, so very good at it here. He'll be the offensive play caller. Defensive coordinators, two of them, Brian Brown. He's been with Satterfield since 2012, second year here as the DC with Louisville, and then Wes McGriff. He spent time with Alabama, spent time with Auburn and Florida his first year here as the DC. Looking at the Cards offense, I think it's a high upside unit. They obviously lose a handful of transfers. Malik Cunningham, though, this guy is as special as they come. I remember back in 2016, I was looking at the Heisman odds, and there was this guy. He was plus 5,000. He just had a very impressive bowl game. I typed in $100, said, should I hit it? I didn't. His name is Lamar Jackson. Week one happened, he scored eight or nine times, and I knew I made a mistake. You might see that happen from Malik Cunningham. He is a dual threat player who is a very elite in the open field, very shifty. He had a lot of touchdowns last year, 39 total, 3,000 as a passer, over the 1K yard mark as a runner. What are your thoughts on Malik Cunningham, who is the heart and soul of this football team this year?
The hype of Malik Cunningham is real, right? Nearly 4,000 yards last year, 39 touchdowns. He is such a talented player. The versatility there is incredible. The dual threat, you're not going to find a better dual threat option anywhere in the ACC. I absolutely love what he can do at plus 6,600 for the Heisman odds. Honestly, that's criminally low in my opinion. He should be a lot higher than that. I love the talent he has. Another year in the system, another year of experience, going back with his coach. You know, he gets a great offensive coordinator, Lance Taylor. Like you said, it was really great in the run coordinator at Notre Dame. He comes in. I think they can work together and form a great offense that's balanced. Nice attack on the ground for Cunningham. Nice attack in the air. I love to see what he can do. I'm so impressed with him as a player. This guy's going to be great this year.
Yeah, they averaged 213 yards per game on the ground last year. They get Cunningham back, and they have a very strong backfield. Mixed up Lance Taylor. I think these guys could really be one of the top 5 rushing attacks in America. Of course, the top 3 are always going to be the academies, so there's not much room there in the top 5. Jalen Mitchell, though, 722 yards a season ago. Trevor Cooley, 431, 5 yards per carry. Had 2 long touchdown receptions as well, so he's a dual-threat playmaker. Those guys are both coming off pretty impactful freshman seasons. In terms of eligibility, at least, they were freshmen last year, but they've been around 2 or 3 years each. Tyon Evans, though, they picked him up from Tennessee. A very shocking decision to see him transfer. We never really get to see him play that much, 525 yards, 6 touchdowns. Only played in 6 games. He then got hurt, but he had 100-plus yards in 3 of those. I ran him DraftKings fantasy against Missouri, and he could not stop scoring. That run defense was very poor. He took advantage of it. He's not exactly shifty, but he's very quick in the short area, like his feet. What do you feel about this backfield mixed with Cunningham? I think 250 yards per game is a realistic mark.
250 yards is definitely very realistic with this team. I think Cooley's really the talented back here. He had a great freshman year. I think he's going to be the guy to look at. I think he's the best option for this team, but Evans comes in from Tennessee. He has so much talent. Like you said, absolutely torched Mizzou last year. In fairness, they weren't the best run defense. I like what they can do here, the balance, and with Cunningham, they have so many great options on the ground. When you have an experienced coach on the offensive coordinator that was the run game coordinator, this run offense is going to be fantastic. 250 yards per game is very, very achievable for this team in the ACC.
I like the weapons they got on the outside as well. Of course, they lose top pass catchers to the SEC teams in the West in Jordan Watkins and Tyler Harrell to Ole Miss and Alabama, respectively. Marshawn Ford, though, he's back after leading the team with 49 recs for 550 yards. Quite the blocker as well. Marshawn Ford, one of the better tight ends in America. Added a lot of young talent in the recruiting class, especially a receiver. They replaced 2 transfers with 2 transfers of their own. D. Wiggins from Miami, and vet presence, has very good hands. And Tyler Hudson, he was an impactful ball player there at Central Arkansas. Still think they have plenty of speed, though. Amari Huggins Bryce, Chris Bell, Devon Mortimer. These guys are very fast, so there's not a great drop-off in speed, even though Harrell, who apparently runs like a 4.18 or something like that, he had 29 yards per catch last season. That's a big loss. I'm not too worried about it, though. I like what they got here in the receiving corps.
I think Mortimer is expected should have a good season, a 4-star recruit out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I think he could step up and have a great opportunity. You bring in D. Wiggins as well from Miami. I like the 2 of them. Florida, I think they have some serious talent together. They can potentially start early on. I love what this offense, because like you said, they lose Harrell, who was certainly a speedster and was the fastest guy on that roster, but they have so many other options on offense with the speed at wide receiver. I think there's going to be plenty of talent here. Cunningham will have a field day throwing these guys, and this offense will step up and be great this year.
They also got some really impressive tight ends outside of Ford. Isaac Martin, a very tough-nosed blocker, and Des Melton, I really like him, 6'4", 240, quite athletic for that size. The offensive line, though, this is another part of their offense that's really going to have to step up to kind of maximize the potential here. They did perform pretty well last year, though. Not so much in the first. I thought they were really great. Only started their replaces here at center, but Brian Hudson slots into that spot. Plenty of experience from last year. They also got Caleb Chandler at left guard. He's one of the nation's best at his position. An elite run and pass block grades over the back half of the season, according to PFF. He's certainly going to be in for a big-time year as he prepares for the draft. Not much turnover one bit. They get Trevor Reed back at left tackle. He's up to about 307 pounds. He arrived at about 285. That's where he was about one point last year. He's also 6'5". Pretty big unit. Everyone is around that 6'4", 6'5", 310-pound range. I'm not sure how athletic they are, but if they can get conditioned at this size, this running game is going to be nasty, headlined by Caleb Chandler.
I love what they return. Like you said, they only lose Cole Bentley, who is certainly experienced, but they step in. Chandler, he stays there, doesn't go pro. He comes back, is going to beef up his draft stock for sure. I love what he can do. I think he is super talented, Caleb Chandler. He's going to be the leader here on the offensive line. I like the size. And if they can give the running holds for the offensive for Cunningham and the running backs, this team can run all over teams in the ACC.
Looking at their defense, they get back 7 starters. It took a bit of a step back last year. Pass rush did improve. The defensive line just needs to be better all around. Stopping the run is a big issue. They got hammered by UK. I think they almost approached 500 yards there. But it was weird because they turned around and they were very good against Air Force, less than 150 yards in that game, somewhere in that mark. So they got hammered by Kentucky, turned around in the bowl game, did very well. So obviously they've shown potential to get penetration. I like that they have a defensive end, though. Yaya Diaby, 7 QB hurry. He only had 1.5 sacks last year, so obviously he needs to be more productive, but he certainly got closer to home than some of his other teammates did. But Ashton Galati, impact freshman from last season, 8 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. I think it's a respectable starting defensive end duo. And then Desmond Tellett, nose tackle. He's an experienced veteran who's got some size. But overall, this front three, not much size or depth. I'm very concerned about this unit in the front.
I'd like to see Yaya Diaby step up. He has the potential there. I really liked what he could do last year. But like you said, the size is just not there. And this front three definitely worries me. I'm a little concerned with this for sure. That's the weakest part of the team, in my opinion.
At linebacker, though, I think there's a big of a step up here. 4-man LB core, probably the strongest group on the roster. They're all seniors. C.J. Avery obviously departs, but he's replaced by Mohamed Sanaa. Ole Miss, 6th season now, 112 tackles back in 2018. Didn't do much last year. He's shown the ability to be an enforcer, though, and obviously that veteran presence is going to be felt. Yazir Abdullah, he's one of the top playmakers in the ACC last year. I love this guy. 16 tackles for loss, 10 sacks. He has a knack at getting through traffic. He makes good tackles. He doesn't wow you with a lot of his traits, but overall, this is a highly impressive ball player. Like I just said, getting through traffic is impressive. He's not overly big, doesn't have great speed or anything like that. He just has a knack for making plays. And then Monty Montgomery, he was hurt after 3 games. He's 5'11", 220, a little more twitchy due to being this size, but this three-man group of those guys in this 4-man linebacking core, big fan of.
I like Monty Montgomery a lot. It's such a shame they lost him last year early to injury, and they bring in Mohamed Sanogo. I think he's going to be the key to this linebacking core. He had a good season last year, but in general, just hit or miss in his career at Oxford. So I think he can step up here and turn over a new leaf here and fill that hole that's there, and has a good job.
Looking at the secondary, they only lose 1 starter, which is good because this unit was not good. Q Cole was at safety. They also added Jalen Alexander and MJ Griffin to compete for his spot. They both saw meaningful snaps in 2021. MJ Griffin was 2nd best tackler for Temple last year. That's off Kendron Duncan. He's a former transfer. He had 76 tackles last year. They got plenty of experience here at safety. Then Keitrell Clark, one of the top corners in the conference, 5'10", 180. Not very big, but he's one of the nation's best in man coverage. He explodes. Closing speed is very, very impressive. A disciplined ball player, a reliable tackler. His movement allows him to thrive in man. Long speed isn't ideal, but he certainly holds up here at the college ranks. The 19 pass breakups over the past 2 seasons showcases his phenomenal ball skills. He also had 3 INTs last year, so this guy does everything for them in the secondary. But they're going to need some other guys to step up here. So they just were not good. They do get a lot of people back, though.
We certainly are going to need to see improvement across the board. I like Clark a lot. I think Clark has serious potential. Kendrick Duncan as well, 77 tackles last year. Like you said, talented player. I think he can have a decent year. But we're just going to need to see some stepping up from this team. They weren't the great, the pass protection wasn't really there on defense. So secondary, I'm a little concerned. But I think they have some potential to make a little bit of improvement here.
Chandler Jones, another veteran on the opposite side at corner, almost identical size of Clark. Bigger pass catchers certainly had their way on the outside, even against Clark, so size is certainly an issue. Tackling needs to be better. Not as much in open space, but plenty to clean up. The experience being back should be helpful, so I think the secondary will certainly improve. Looking at the prediction here, I think this team plays in plenty of close games this season. Hot 6-0 start. The schedule just calls for it. Like you mentioned earlier before we hopped on here, that 2 are in Florida. They should be 3-0 there in that state. At least half of those games will be close, though, I think. Pitt gets a lot back. They do get them at home. Good matchup versus Wake Forest. But if they don't find some pass rush, they could get lit up. Brutal November stretch to end the season. I do think those games could be close, though, against teams like Clemson and Kentucky. Ultimately, though, I do think they'll fall there in those respective contests, and NC State sandwiched in between them. So the explosive nature of this offense, I think, is going to score a lot of points, and that's mainly why I have them 8 wins. But the defense is very iffy. I like the experience of linebacker and in the secondary. Very concerned by the D-line, though. I don't know if they're going to be able to, this pass rush will be able to assist the secondary. That certainly has some improving to do. I think time of possession, being able to convert on third down, though, that's going to really help with the lack of depth on that side of the ball. So we'll see how big of a focal point those areas are. 8-4. I'm not beating on the table with confidence of that because of the defense, but I think this offense is going to be really good this year.
I like the way the schedule is structured. You get the 3 games against Florida teams in September, and you get a game against FBS transitioning James Madison as well. I like the way it's built top to bottom. 6-0 start definitely makes sense to me. Pitt, Clemson, NC State, Kentucky, those are all going to be tough games. 8-4 definitely seems right, but they seem that they have a roster that seems like a 5-win roster, but the way the schedule is constructed, they can definitely get to 8 wins. This team should be clear of bowl eligibility. They played in a bowl game last year. They have potential. They're going to be able to do that again this year. I like this schedule. I like this roster, and I think things are on the up in Louisville for sure.
I think October 8th, that over-under will probably be set at about 80 or 90 because there's going to be a lot of points, I think, that afternoon there in Charlottesville. That's going to be it for today's episode. Nick, appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.